This is your host, Stephen Brent Sargeant. We're going to go quickly through this. This one's titled The Winners Are Watching. Now, what does that exactly mean? I think I'm trying to figure out where I picked up this concept from. I personally believe it was from Gary Vee. I could be wrong. It could have been my own creation, but I highly doubt that. And what this means is that if many of you know, I did a podcast starting back in 2017. At the start of my AML career, I started a podcast. There was no real podcast for AML in the industry. I maybe did 7 episodes. You know, the cliche things that podcasts only last 7 episodes. Well, I was part of the statistics. Did about 7 episodes, but what I realized is that the winners were watching. And what that means is that although maybe it had 300 total downloads, there wasn't a lot of people engaging with it. It actually created something in the industry that wasn't there before. So a lot of people saw that I was doing these things, whether they wanted to be on the podcast or were interested in it. They saw that, hey, this person's doing something different than anybody else had done in the industry. This is 2017, so almost 5 years ago. Now we have a few more podcasts. ACAMS has a podcast that's very good. Compliance Time podcast. My girl Denisa out in Poland, I'm going to say. I could be wrong. She has a really great podcast. She's interviewed so many great people, Denisa. So it's just something that I created that was a little bit different than everyone else was doing in the industry at the time, right? And that podcast was definitely inspired from watching Gary Vee and other influencers create content. But you have to realize, like, even on LinkedIn, that even if you aren't getting tens of thousands of views or hundreds of comments, people are watching you. And it's usually the winners that are watching. And usually, even sometimes, those winners never comment. They never engage with your content. They never share it. But every now and then, maybe a couple years later, you'll get a, hey, Steven, been following your content, really enjoy what you're doing, keep it up. And although that doesn't mean a whole bunch in the grand influencer game, it means a lot to me because that means, hey, that same person that I probably messaged that never responds to my messages is actually watching my content. They might now refer me to somebody that's hosting a conference or that's creating a crypto course. All of these things are happening behind the scenes and in conversations behind the scenes that you know nothing about. They're not cheering you on. They're just watching what you're doing. They're seeing, hey, maybe how I can help this person, how I can engage with this person. And those are huge things, especially when you're doing it with other people. A few years ago, when we started the foreign professional mentorship events with me, Sandy, Claudius, and a couple other people, Chad, it was just something that we really wanted to do to help the industry. And we got so much support from people in the industry just because we decided to create something. And to me, the winners were watching. They're like, hey, how can we help? How can we come speak? How can we engage your audience or start more conversations? So these are really important things is just do. 1 is always greater than 0. And when I say that, it just means that even if you get 1 person watching, 1 person listening, 1 like, 1 comment, that's much better than doing nothing at all. So much better. Everyone's trying to get hundreds of thousands of followers and be influential, and that's great. And I think even me, to a point, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help as many people as possible. But if I just get 1 message saying, hey, I enjoyed your content and it helped me, that means the world to me. And it's funny enough that I even bring that up because I just received a message yesterday from somebody that says, hey, Steven, I was engaging or commenting on your YouTube channel. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. Yes, I have maybe 47, 48 subscribers. So we're growing strong community. But one of the 3 people that actually commented said, hey, somebody reached out to me back in December and now I'm joining their crypto compliance position. And that was because of you. So as you see, like the person that was watching, I didn't know they were watching the videos. I didn't know they were looking at the comments. And what's funny enough is that video was actually promoted by my friend Lauren and their amazing blockchain analytics company, Breadcrumbs, on their website. So that's how the person saw it. They didn't even see it on LinkedIn, but because I mentioned Breadcrumbs and Lauren and his book, they'd actually posted on their website. So you just never know. And that's why I say it's so important to produce content. It's not for you. It's to help other people. It's to show other people what they can do if they don't have those insecurities and going on video. But that one video helped maybe 2-3 people, but for one person to help them land a job. And isn't that what we're out here doing? Like, we're trying to create value. We're trying to help people. And another situation that I can't go into much detail about, let's just say I'll make up a name. I had a friend, his name in school was Faroq. I love that name, Faroq. It's like Pharaoh, but Faroq. So let's just say Faroq, applied for a crypto investigator position. The position was definitely lower than like where he was at a traditional financial institution. He knew that going in. He still applied because he really wanted to get into crypto. This is a difference between I want to get in crypto and crypto is the future. There's a difference between taking a step, maybe what you think is a step back to get into the crypto industry to gain experience. So he was willing to do that. Super humble person. Years of experience, a decade worth of legit experience. He grew within several different organizations and definitely had a high position. I've come to find out now that crypto company said, although he would be a great investigator, we are going to position him somewhere else within the organization, reporting to somebody at the C-suite so that we could better utilize his full potential and his amazing skills. Now, how good is that? Going in there humble. He went into the interview process humble, willing to go back to an investigator because he really wanted to get into crypto, and then being rewarded for that by getting into a position that was at his level. Many of us don't want to take that risk. I don't want an investigator position. I want a senior person. I don't want to do this. And I don't want to take a pay cut. Everyone's so worried about their money, the mortgages. And yes, all that stuff is important, but if you take a chance and be humble and be hungry and have that mindset that I can work my way up in any organization quickly, especially in crypto, right? I know in the banks, you need 5 years seniority, this and that, but in crypto, time doesn't really matter. It's whoever has the most experience and can get the job done properly. It's not who's been there the longest. Those rules don't really apply in crypto as much as people think. And I love those stories because I think there's more of those stories. It was the same for me. I transitioned and I'm not saying that you can't transition at the same level, but man, doesn't it feel good when somebody really wants to get into crypto? They're way up here when it comes to position and probably even compensation. And that company, they knew it was a good company. That company is like, this is great. I'm going to put them in the position that will best utilize them. The winners are watching. But you have to put yourself in a position to be visible. And if that person decided not to even do the interview because that position was too low for them, they would have never got that opportunity. And sometimes, as I said, there's a fine line. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's a fine line between being like humble and being like manifesting your own job. That person manifested their own job, but they're also humble in knowing that they're going to go in and see what the process is like. They're willing to do the investigation because they have the belief. Once again, when it comes to asking for guidance, they had the belief that they were going to do well. And right away, right off the interview, right off the bat, they put them in that position. This is hugely important. I know my family member went through the same process where he was applying to a job at a notable company, a notable fintech in Canada, one of the biggest fintechs in Canada. And although it wasn't the exact position, he knew he could go. He wanted to go in there and learn. He wanted to show his skills. And now they created a position for him because they were so impressed by his presentation and the skills. This happens more often than you think. But you also have the humility to go in there and say, hey, this may not be my position. I know once I get in there, I can create it. And a lot of times just during the interview process, if it's winners on the other side of that table, those winners are going to put you in positions to win, even if you're not applying for the position that they want to be filled. You have to have that getting in and do damage strategy. That's a strategy I have. That's a strategy I tell everyone is I'll start wherever. I'll start at customer support. So I know where I can start because I know by the end of the year, I know where I'm going to be. And it's all a matter of you. It's a matter of your capabilities. A lot of people are like, oh no, they're going to keep me in the same, low level position. That wouldn't happen if you go in there with confidence and you excel at your job. And I think just even going in with that confidence already sets the stage for you going in there and executing at a high level. This is what happens when you create your own roles, right? There is no other, for those two positions I was telling you, those roles weren't created yet. Thus, there's no other candidates. There's no competition. They created the position. So there's no other applicants. A lot of you are just applying to LinkedIn positions where there's hundreds of applicants. Create the own position in your mind. Go in with the confidence that you can go into any organization, you can be put in any position, and you can rise to the top because you're willing to work hard, you're willing to learn, you're willing to humble yourself, understand the learning curve, and create your own position within that organization, especially if it's a really good organization. This is a mindset that will help everybody applying for jobs right now. A lot of you are looking at these positions and thinking, no, I want to transition at the high level that I'm at. That's great. I'm not saying you can't do that. But I see so many opportunities to get into really great organizations at a lower conversation, at a lower level, learn much more and get much more exposure. And on the other side of 2 years or 3 years, whether you decide to stay or leave, you've raised your value way more than you would have got paid transitioning at the level you want to right now. Hope that helps.